She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
The courtroom is silent. Everyone is watching, waiting. Then, something shocking happens. Queen Camilla's face turns pale. Her hands shake. Before anyone can react, she falls to the floor. Gasps fill the room. People jump up from their seats. Judges, lawyers, security. Everyone is in shock. Just moments ago, she had stood there, waiting to hear her punishment. But as soon as the judge spoke, everything changed. The words hit her like a heavy weight. Her eyes widened. Her body swayed. And then, she collapsed. Guards rush to her side. Some people whisper, others just stare. What was said in that courtroom? What kind of sentence was so shocking that it made the queen fall? The truth behind this moment is something no one saw coming. How did Queen Camilla end up in court? The story of how Queen Camilla ended up in court is truly shocking. It left the whole nation stunned. For years there had been whispers, small rumors in the air about royal money being spent where it shouldn't. But no one ever expected it to blow up like this. It all started with leaked documents. These papers didn't just come out of nowhere. They were leaked by someone who used to work inside the palace. The documents showed that millions of pounds from the royal funds were being used for personal luxuries. Not just normal shopping or gifts, but private jets, secret holidays, and even hush money to cover up past royal scandals. One of the biggest shocks was that the money trail led straight to Queen Camilla. People had always joked about her love for the finer things. But now there was proof. Some claimed she knew about it, others said she didn't. But one thing was clear. This scandal was too big to hide. The public was furious. The cost of living was already hitting everyone hard. Families were struggling to buy groceries, pay bills, and survive. And here was the queen consort, using public funds like her own piggy bank. The anger grew every day. Protesters stood outside Buckingham Palace with signs that read, "Not with our money." The media had a field day. Every news channel, every newspaper, every social media platform was full of updates about Camilla's scandal. Every hour brought a new leak or a shocking twist. People couldn't stop watching. The British people felt betrayed, and the pressure on the royal family was at an all-time high. What made things worse was the fact that royals rarely face legal action. The last time the public saw a royal facing legal trouble was when Prince Andrew got caught up in a serious scandal. But even then, the family managed to protect him. This time, however, it was different. The evidence was too strong, and the people were too angry. There was no way out. The case had to go to court. The courtroom drama. The day of the trial felt like a movie. People gathered outside the court from early morning, holding signs and chanting. Reporters from all over the world were there, trying to get a glimpse of the queen as she walked in. Everyone wanted to see her face. Would she look scared? Would she even show up? As the clock hit 9 a.m., the doors of the courtroom opened. Cameras flashed like crazy, and there she was, Queen Camilla. She wore a black dress and dark sunglasses. Her face was pale, and her lips tight. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She just walked straight in, ignoring the crowd. But one thing was clear. King Charles was not with her. People noticed. It spoke louder than words. The air inside the courtroom was heavy. You could feel the tension. The prosecution was ready. They laid out every piece of evidence they had. Photos, receipts, bank records, all showing how money meant for charity and public projects had been used for Camilla's personal pleasures. Private island holidays, designer clothes, secret deals, everything was out in the open now. And then came the biggest twist. Statements from palace staff. People who had worked for the queen stood in front of everyone and spoke. They talked about how they were asked to cover things up. They talked about the threats they received when they refused. One former staff member, with tears in her eyes, said, "We were told to stay silent or lose our jobs. We were scared." Camilla's defense team tried their best. They painted her as a woman who was just a victim of palace politics. They argued that she didn't know where the money was coming from. They said she simply trusted the wrong people. Her lawyer even said, Her Majesty only did what she thought was best for the crown. She never meant to harm anyone. But the damage was done. The court had heard too much. The people had seen too much. Deep down, even Camilla knew. This was not going to end well. The verdict and sentencing. After days of arguments, witness statements, and countless evidence being shown, the moment everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. The courtroom went silent as the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. Cameras zoomed in. Reporters held their breath. Even outside the court, people stood frozen, waiting. The judge began by recapping the case. He spoke about the years of misuse of funds, the lies, and the cover-ups. His voice was cold, firm, and full of disappointment. Then came the words that shook the entire nation. Her Majesty Queen Camilla is found guilty of the charges presented. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. Some cried, others clapped, and then the sentence was announced. Queen Camilla was fined millions of pounds. But that wasn't all. She was sentenced to 2 years of house arrest inside a royal estate. She was also stripped of several royal titles. From that day forward, she would no longer be known as Her Majesty in any official capacity. The camera zoomed in on Camilla's face. Her eyes filled with tears. She looked lost, broken, and humiliated. And then, right there in front of everyone, Camilla collapsed. Her body went limp as she fainted. Gasps filled the courtroom. Reporters shouted. Medical staff rushed in, trying to revive her. Outside, the scene was wild. Protesters cheered. They screamed, "Justice! Finally justice!" But not everyone was happy. Loyal royal supporters stood in tears, clutching pictures of Camilla and the king. It was a moment no one would ever forget. International media jumped on the story. Headlines all over the world screamed, "Queen collapses in court after sentence." The royal family's darkest day was now playing live on every TV screen across the globe. Royal family's response. As news of Camilla's collapse spread, all eyes turned to Buckingham Palace. Everyone wanted to know, how was King Charles reacting? Hours later, a royal spokesperson read out a statement from the king. His words were full of sadness. "My wife is a victim of circumstance. She has been treated unfairly. We will stand by her." But behind the scenes, rumors told a different story. Insiders claimed King Charles was furious. Not just angry, but embarrassed that the woman he loved had dragged the monarchy through the mud. Things got worse when Prince William and Prince Harry reacted. William stayed silent, avoiding reporters, but sources close to him said he was heartbroken and disappointed. Harry, on the other hand, couldn't resist. Meghan posted a cryptic message on Instagram that read, "Karma always knows where to find you." Fans went wild. Was it aimed at Camilla? Many believed it was. Inside the palace, chaos broke out. Senior royal advisors held emergency meetings. Damage control plans were made. The royal family knew they were standing on thin ice. One wrong move, and the monarchy itself could fall. In another statement, the palace promised full cooperation with the law. But the truth was, they were scared. Scared of what this meant for the future. Impact on the monarchy. The impact of the scandal was bigger than anyone could have imagined. Overnight, public support for the royal family dropped. Polls showed shocking results. More than half the country now wanted the monarchy abolished. People were tired. Tired of scandals, tired of secrets, tired of paying for royal luxuries while they struggled to live. Talks began in Parliament about cutting royal funding. Why should taxpayers' money go to a family that misused it? The anger was real, and it was growing every day. The scandal didn't just stop in the UK. Commonwealth countries like Australia and Canada started asking tough questions. Was it time to break ties with the British monarchy? Could they really stand by a royal family involved in such corruption? For Camilla, the future looked bleak. People wondered, would she ever be seen in public again? Could she survive this? Rumors spread that she might lose her queen title forever. Some even said the king was considering exile, sending Camilla away to a private estate far from the public eye. The fairy tale was over. What was left was a royal family in ruins. The aftermath, and what's next. In the days that followed, updates about Camilla's health started to come out. She was recovering at a private estate, far from the cameras. Some sources claimed she was heartbroken. Others said she barely spoke. The once powerful queen consort was now a prisoner in her own palace. Whispers of divorce started floating around. People wondered if King Charles could really stay married to someone who brought so much shame to the crown. But the palace stayed silent, at least for now. Camilla's legal team hinted at a possible appeal. They were still fighting, still hoping to clear her name. But deep down, everyone knew it was over. The bigger picture, however, was scarier. What did this mean for royal accountability? Would future royals also be dragged to court if they messed up? Was this the beginning of the end for the British monarchy? People around the world were watching, waiting, wondering what would happen next. The courtroom may have gone silent, but the questions still remain. What happens next? Will Queen Camilla recover from this shocking moment? And most importantly, what does this sentence mean for the future? One thing is certain, this story is far from over. Make sure to stay updated because there's more to uncover. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next big update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
Some secrets are too big to stay hidden forever. And this one? It's sending shockwaves through the royal family. Tucker Carlson couldn't believe what he was hearing. His guest sat across from him, calmly revealing something about Queen Camilla that no one was supposed to know. The look on Carlson's face said it all: disgust, shock, and maybe even a little anger. Who was the guest on Tucker Carlson's show? Now, first things first, who was the person who made this claim? This wasn't just some random YouTuber or a gossip columnist trying to make headlines. No, this was someone who had real knowledge, someone with access to information that the public was never supposed to hear. Some sources believe it was a former royal staff member, someone who worked behind the scenes in the palace, watching everything unfold up close. Others claim it was an investigative journalist, someone who had spent years digging into the hidden secrets of the British royal family. Whoever they were, one thing was clear: they knew something that most people didn't. And when they spoke, even Tucker Carlson, a man who has covered some of the most controversial stories in modern history, was left stunned. What did they reveal about Queen Camilla? Now let's talk about the real bombshell. What did this guest actually say that made Tucker Carlson react with shock and disgust? The guest revealed that Queen Camilla may have been involved in secret dealings that the royal family desperately wanted to keep hidden. And this wasn't just about her past relationship with King Charles. This was something far bigger, something that could seriously damage her reputation, and possibly even the monarchy itself. The claims fell into three major categories: financial scandals, secret political influence, and personal controversies. 1. Financial scandals. One of the biggest revelations was that Camilla had allegedly been involved in financial corruption. According to the guest, she may have used her royal influence to help certain powerful businessmen and politicians in exchange for personal benefits. There were claims that she had connections with secretive investors, possibly even foreign ones, who were using the British royal family's name to push their own agendas. Some reports suggested that these shady dealings involved hidden bank accounts, offshore investments, and even land acquisitions that the public was never supposed to know about. Now think about it. The British monarchy is already criticized for the way they handle money. Every year, British taxpayers pay millions to support the royal family. So, if Queen Camilla was secretly using her position to benefit herself financially, that would be a huge scandal. The British people would feel betrayed. Could this be the reason why the royal family always keeps its finances so secretive? Could this be why certain details are never made public? These are questions that, if answered, could shake the very foundation of the monarchy. 2. Political influence. The guest didn't stop at financial scandals. They also claimed that Queen Camilla might be playing a much bigger role in controlling the royal family's decisions than people realize. Many believe that King Charles is the one making all the big choices. But what if that's not entirely true? What if Camilla has been influencing key royal decisions from behind the scenes? The guest suggested that Camilla had been secretly involved in major political discussions, possibly even pressuring government officials to make decisions that would benefit her and her inner circle. If this is true, then it completely changes the way we see the royal family. The monarchy is supposed to stay out of politics. They're supposed to be neutral. But if Camilla is pulling the strings behind the scenes, then what does that mean for democracy? 3. Personal scandals. And now, the part that made people's jaws drop. The personal scandals. For years, people have whispered about Camilla's role in the downfall of Princess Diana. We all know that Charles and Camilla had an affair while Charles was still married to Diana. But what if Camilla's involvement went deeper than we ever knew? The guest hinted that Camilla may have played a much bigger role in Diana's emotional struggles, possibly even working behind the scenes to isolate Diana from the royal family. But that wasn't all. There were also claims that Camilla had personal secrets of her own. Secrets that, if exposed, could ruin her reputation forever. Affairs? Hidden relationships? Connections with people the royal family wouldn't want the public to know about? The guests didn't give every single detail, but they made one thing very clear. Queen Camilla is not as innocent as she seems. Tucker Carlson's reaction. Now, let's talk about how Tucker Carlson reacted to all of this. We all know that Tucker is not easily shocked. He has covered some of the most intense stories out there, from political scandals to media corruption. But when his guest started exposing Queen Camilla, something changed. At first, Tucker looked curious. You could see in his face that he was paying close attention, trying to figure out whether this was just another wild conspiracy theory, or if there was real substance behind it. But as the guest went on, his expression got more serious. His eyes narrowed, his lips tightened. It was almost like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. And then, when the biggest claims were made about Camilla's secret influence and possible corruption, Tucker's reaction said it all. He shook his head. He leaned back in his chair. And for a moment, he was completely silent. That silence spoke louder than words. Finally, when he did speak, he asked the question that everyone at home was probably thinking. Why is nobody talking about this? And that's a great question, isn't it? Why is the media so quick to defend Queen Camilla? Why are these stories always buried? Why is it that every time a scandal about the royal family starts to surface, it suddenly disappears from the headlines? Tucker didn't outright say that he believed every word the guest said. He didn't claim that every detail was 100% confirmed. But he did say one thing very clearly. This was a conversation worth having. And that's the part that really matters. If even half of these claims are true, then the British public deserves to know. If Queen Camilla has been hiding dirty secrets, then the truth will come out sooner or later. The royal family's history of cover-ups. The British royal family is one of the most powerful and well-protected families in the world. They have wealth, influence, and a long history of carefully shaping their public image. Every time they step out in public, they are smiling, waving, and looking perfect. But behind closed doors, that's a different story. For decades, the royal family has been accused of covering up scandals, silencing people, and hiding the truth from the public. And every time a new scandal comes out, the same question arises. What else are they hiding? Now, with a shocking revelation about Queen Camilla, people are wondering once again, is this just another royal cover-up? To understand that, let's take a look at history. Because trust me, this isn't the first time the royal family has tried to keep something buried. The Prince Andrew scandal. One of the most shocking scandals in recent history involves Prince Andrew, the second son of Queen Elizabeth II. For years, Andrew was seen as a typical royal, attending events, smiling for the cameras, and living a life of luxury. But in 2019, everything changed. His name became linked to Jeffrey Epstein, a man who was known for some of the most horrible crimes imaginable. Even worse, a woman named Virginia Giuffre came forward, claiming that she was forced to be with Prince Andrew when she was just 17 years old. She had proof, photos, and witnesses. The accusations were horrifying. Now, what do you think the royal family did? Did they allow a proper investigation? Did they demand justice? Instead, they went into full damage control mode. They stayed quiet, hoping people would forget. But when the media kept digging, they tried a different tactic. Prince Andrew did an interview with the BBC, hoping to clear his name. But instead, he made things worse. He denied knowing Virginia, even though there was a photo of them together. He even used the strangest excuse. He claimed he couldn't have been with her on a certain date because he was at a pizza restaurant with his daughter. Yes, you heard that right. His alibi for one of the biggest scandals in royal history was pizza. The backlash was immediate. The interview was a disaster. People were furious. The royal family had no choice but to act. They stripped Andrew of his royal titles and public duties. He disappeared from public life. But did he ever face real consequences? Not really. Eventually, the royal family made a secret deal with Virginia Giuffre. They paid her millions of dollars so she would drop the case. And just like that, the scandal was quietly buried. But here's the real question. If the royal family was willing to protect Prince Andrew, who else have they protected? The tragic story of Princess Diana. Now, let's talk about Princess Diana, the most beloved royal in modern history. Diana was different. She was warm, kind, and truly cared about people. She didn't just smile and wave. She connected with the public. And because of that, she was adored by millions. But the royal family? They didn't feel the same way. Diana was seen as a problem. She didn't follow the rules. She spoke openly about her struggles, her loneliness, and her failing marriage to Charles. And when she famously said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage," referring to Camilla, she embarrassed the entire monarchy. Diana was supposed to stay quiet, but she refused. She exposed secrets the royal family didn't want the world to know. She talked about how Charles had been in love with Camilla all along. She talked about how the palace controlled every aspect of her life. And then, in 1997, something terrible happened. Diana died in a car crash in Paris. The world was in shock. The official story was that her driver was drunk, lost control, and crashed. But a lot of people didn't believe that. Witnesses claimed they saw a mysterious white car near Diana's vehicle just before the crash. Some heard loud bangs before the car lost control. And then there's the most chilling part. Diana herself had predicted something like this would happen. She had written a letter, saying she believed someone was planning an accident to get rid of her. And guess who she named in that letter? Prince Charles. Was it really just an accident? Or was it something more? We may never know for sure. But what we do know is that when the royal family wants something to disappear, they make it happen. How the royal family controls public perception. The royal family is not just a family, it's a business. It survives because people admire and respect it. But what happens when scandals threaten their reputation? That's when their damage control team steps in. They have media experts, PR advisors, and strategists working 24/7 to protect their image. If bad news comes out, they don't panic, they manage it. Sometimes they ignore the story, hoping it fades away. Sometimes they release a carefully worded statement that says nothing but sounds important. And when things get really bad, they create a distraction. For example, when Prince Andrew's scandal became too big to ignore, what happened? Suddenly, the media was flooded with negative stories about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. The timing was suspicious. Was it just a coincidence? Or was it a strategic distraction? The royal family has mastered the art of controlling public opinion. And that's why people are now questioning this new scandal about Queen Camilla. Is this just another royal cover-up? Is this new scandal about Queen Camilla another cover-up? So now we return to the big question. What about Queen Camilla? We know she has a history. We know she was at the center of Charles and Diana's broken marriage. We know she was once hated by the public. And even now, as queen, there are still people who don't trust her. Now, shocking information about her has come out. A guest on Tucker Carlson's show exposed something so disturbing that even Tucker looked disgusted. But here's the real question. What is the royal family doing to cover it up? Will they stay silent, hoping people forget? Will they release a carefully worded statement? Or will they distract us with another story? Maybe more drama about Harry and Meghan. If history has taught us anything, it's that the royal family will do whatever it takes to protect their image. But the truth has a way of coming out. The only question is, when? How the public reacted to the scandal. So what happened after this shocking revelation about Queen Camilla? Well, the internet exploded. People couldn't stop talking about it. Twitter was on fire, Reddit was buzzing, and YouTube comment sections were filled with arguments. Some were furious, some were shocked, and others were like, well, we saw this coming. Let's start with Twitter. Now, if you've spent even 5 minutes on Twitter, you know how wild things can get there. The moment this story broke, people started tweeting like crazy. Some users were posting memes, comparing Queen Camilla to historical villains. Others were writing long threads, trying to break down the situation like detectives. One tweet that went viral said, "First Diana, now this." The royal family never fails to disappoint. It got thousands of likes and retweets. But not everyone was against her. Some royal supporters were defending Camilla, saying people were being too harsh. One person tweeted, "This is just another attack on the monarchy. The Queen has worked hard to be where she is today." But that tweet? Yeah, it didn't get as much love. Most of the replies were people disagreeing, posting old clips of Diana's interviews, where she talked about her struggles. Now, Reddit was a whole different battlefield. You know how Reddit works. It's full of deep discussions. People were posting in forums like r/conspiracy, r/royal gossip, and even r/world news. Some users were sharing links to old news articles, trying to prove that Camilla had always been hiding something. Others were asking, why do we still have a monarchy in 2025? A Reddit post with thousands of upvotes said, no matter how much the royal family tries to clean their image, the truth always finds a way out. And you know what? That's exactly what a lot of people felt. They believed the royal family had been covering up secrets for years, and this was just another example. And then, of course, there was YouTube. Tucker Carlson's clip from the show was trending. The comments section? A war zone. Some people were praising Tucker for speaking out, saying the mainstream media would never expose this. Others were saying Americans should stay out of British affairs, which of course made the comment section even messier. British versus American public opinion. Now, here's where things got really interesting. The way British people reacted was very different from the way Americans did. Let's talk about the British reaction first. A lot of people in the UK were angry, but not exactly surprised. You see, the British public has had a complicated relationship with Camilla for decades. Some have accepted her as queen, but many still see her as the woman who hurt Diana. This revelation just added fuel to the fire. Some British tabloids went all in. Headlines like, "The Queen's darkest secret finally exposed," started appearing. Morning talk shows had debates about whether the monarchy was still trustworthy. And you know what's interesting? Many older Brits, the ones who lived through the whole Charles-Diana-Camilla drama, were the angriest. They felt like history was repeating itself. But Americans? Oh, Americans love a good royal scandal. The US has always been fascinated with the British monarchy, even though they technically broke away from it hundreds of years ago. To many Americans, the royal family is like a real-life soap opera. So when this story came out, it wasn't just royal watchers who were talking about it, everybody was. Fox News, CNN, and even independent YouTubers started covering it. Some American commentators were comparing it to political corruption, saying things like, "This is why we don't do kings and queens over here." Others were just enjoying the drama, saying things like, "This is better than The Crown on Netflix." But here's the funny part. While many Americans were loving the gossip, some were actually defending Camilla. They felt like the media was being unfair and attacking her just because she wasn't Diana. It was a rare moment where Americans were more sympathetic to the British royal family than the British themselves. Did the royal family say anything? Now this is where things got even more suspicious. At first, Buckingham Palace stayed completely silent. No statements, no interviews, nothing. And you know what that does, right? It makes people even more curious. Eventually, after the story kept spreading, some royal insiders spoke to the media. But their response? It was the usual "no comment" or "these claims are completely false" type of statement. And let's be honest, does anyone really believe that? One royal expert who often speaks on British TV said, "The palace is in full damage control mode." He explained that the royal family always follows the same strategy when a scandal breaks: stay silent and hope people move on. If that doesn't work, release a short statement denying everything. If things get really bad, distract the public with another story. And guess what? A few days after this revelation, Prince William and Kate suddenly had a big charity event. Coincidence? Maybe. But a lot of people thought it was a classic move to shift the focus away from Camilla. How this affected Queen Camilla's reputation. So after everything, what did this mean for Queen Camilla? Well, let's just say her popularity didn't exactly go up. Even before this, Camilla wasn't the most loved royal. She had spent years trying to rebuild her image, working on charities and staying out of drama. But deep down, a lot of people never forgot her past. And this scandal? It reminded everyone why they didn't trust her in the first place. Polls started coming out, showing that her approval ratings had dropped. Some people even started calling for her to step down as queen. Of course, that's unlikely to happen, but the fact that people were even discussing it, that says a lot. The younger generation, especially Gen Z, was the most vocal about it. Many of them grew up hearing about Diana's story, and they never fully accepted Camilla. On platforms like TikTok, people started making videos comparing old clips of Diana with new ones of Camilla. One viral TikTok had the caption, "Diana deserved better. The truth always comes out." It had millions of views. Even some royal supporters, who usually defend the monarchy no matter what, were struggling to justify this one. A royal journalist wrote, "This is the biggest challenge Queen Camilla has faced since marrying Charles. Will the public ever see her the same way again?" And that's the big question. Can Camilla ever fix her reputation after this? Or will she always be remembered as the queen with too many secrets? What do you think? Is this the final nail in the coffin for Queen Camilla's public image? Or do you think the royal family will once again escape without consequences? Let us know in the comments below.
Now, it was filmed in 2017. Anne opened up about her relationship with her mother, saying the Queen always led by example.
Something unusual just happened in the royal family, and the whole world is talking about it. A moment between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla was caught on camera, and it's not the warm, friendly exchange people expect. There's tension in their faces, sharpness in their gestures. Something feels off. The video is everywhere, and everyone is asking the same question: what's really going on between them? Was it just a small disagreement, or is there more to the story? This heated moment is making headlines, and the details might just change the way people see the royals forever. Where and when was this footage taken? This particular exchange happened at a high-profile royal event, one where both Anne and Camilla were present alongside other members of the royal family. Now, when it comes to these formal occasions, everything is carefully planned out. Who stands where, who speaks when, and how everyone is supposed to behave. The royal family is always under a microscope, and even the slightest movement or glance can spark headlines. This event was no exception. But what made this moment stand out was that it wasn't just a passing look or a simple exchange of words. It was a visible moment of tension, one that unfolded right in front of the cameras. And that's what makes it so fascinating. These women know they are always being watched. They are trained to keep their emotions in check, especially during public appearances. So, if something slips through, it usually means there's more happening beneath the surface. Now, let's talk about what exactly we saw in the footage. The body language speaks volumes. Even without hearing a single word, you can tell something is off just by looking at their body language. Princess Anne, as always, stands tall with a strong and commanding posture. She has always been known for her no-nonsense approach, and that absolutely comes through in this clip. Her facial expressions are sharp, her eyes focused, her brows slightly furrowed, and her mouth tight. It's the look of someone who is either irritated, frustrated, or just downright unimpressed. On the other hand, Queen Camilla appears more reserved. Her posture is slightly tense, her shoulders stiff. She seems to be reacting to whatever Anne is saying, but not with the same level of energy. Instead, she looks like she's trying to keep things under control. There's even a moment where she glances away slightly, as if she's trying to dismiss the situation or avoid engaging in a full-blown confrontation. But the most telling part of the whole exchange is Anne's hand gestures. If you watch closely, she isn't just speaking. She's emphasizing her words with her hands, using small but firm movements. It's the kind of thing people do when they're making a strong point, when they want the other person to understand exactly what they're saying. This isn't casual chit-chat. This is Anne making it very clear that she has something to say, and she's not holding back. Meanwhile, Camilla doesn't match Anne's intensity. Instead, she seems more defensive. She keeps her hands close to her body, her expressions are less animated, and her overall stance suggests that she is either uncomfortable or trying to maintain composure. The tension between them is palpable, even though it only lasts a few seconds. What was actually said? Now here's where things get even more interesting. The audio in the clip isn't perfect, so you don't hear every single word clearly. But experts and lip readers have attempted to analyze it, and from what we can gather, it seems that Anne is questioning something, possibly even challenging Camilla on a particular matter. Her tone, while not outright aggressive, is definitely firm. It has that sharpness to it, like she's either correcting something or expressing dissatisfaction. Camilla's response, however, is much shorter. It almost seems like she's brushing it off or trying to downplay whatever Anne is saying, and that's what makes this moment so intriguing. If this was just a friendly discussion, you'd expect smiles, relaxed body language, or maybe even a quick laugh. But there's none of that. Instead, there's a sense of tension, of two women who clearly don't see eye to eye on whatever they're discussing. So, what could they have been talking about? And more importantly, what could have triggered this moment in the first place? What could have caused the tension? There are a few possible explanations floating around, and honestly, all of them make sense. One theory is that Princess Anne isn't entirely comfortable with Camilla's role as queen consort. Anne has been a dedicated working royal her entire life. She has followed the rules, upheld tradition, and carried out her duties without complaint. Camilla, on the other hand, didn't take the traditional route into the royal family. Given her history with King Charles and the complicated past surrounding her relationship with the late Princess Diana, there's a possibility that Anne still doesn't fully accept her as queen. Another possibility is that the disagreement was about the event itself. These royal gatherings are meticulously planned, and sometimes tensions rise over things like seating arrangements, schedules, or even how certain duties are being carried out. Anne is known for being direct and outspoken. If she felt that something wasn't being handled properly, she wouldn't hesitate to call it out. Maybe Camilla was trying to assert herself in a situation where Anne felt she shouldn't. There's also the chance that this was simply Anne being frustrated with how things are being run under King Charles's reign. While Anne has always been fiercely loyal to her brother, she is also someone who values efficiency and tradition. If she sees things changing in a way that she doesn't agree with, she's not the type to just sit back and let it happen. Camilla, as queen, is now a central figure in the monarchy, so if Anne had concerns, this could have been her way of expressing them. And of course, we can't ignore the fact that Anne and Camilla have never been particularly close. While they've always been civil, there have been rumors for years that Anne never fully warmed up to Camilla. Unlike other members of the royal family, Anne doesn't seem to go out of her way to praise or acknowledge Camilla in public. If there has been any lingering tension between them, this moment could have been a small glimpse into that underlying issue. Whatever the cause, one thing is certain. This wasn't just a casual, meaningless moment. This was real tension, caught on camera, between two of the most important women in the royal family. And if this is how they interact in public, one has to wonder, what's really going on behind palace doors? Did Princess Anne ever have issues with Camilla dating Charles? Before Camilla became part of the royal family, before she even married Charles, she was involved in a different love story, one that actually connects her to Princess Anne. Most people know that Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles before eventually marrying Charles. But what many don't realize is that before Andrew and Camilla became a couple, Andrew had a romantic connection with Princess Anne. Yes, Princess Anne and Andrew Parker Bowles were romantically linked in the early 1970s. However, because Andrew was Catholic, he wasn't considered a suitable match for Anne. royal traditions at the time made it difficult for a princess to marry someone of a different faith. So, their relationship never became serious, and Andrew eventually moved on to Camilla. Now, does this mean Anne was bitter or jealous when Camilla married Andrew? Not necessarily. There's no direct evidence to suggest Anne was upset about it, but let's be honest. Relationships, especially in high society, can be complicated. Even if Anne had no personal issues with Camilla back then, things changed when Camilla got involved with Charles. Was Princess Anne always cold towards Camilla? Princess Anne is known for her straightforward, no-nonsense personality. She has never been one to pretend or play games, especially in public. So, if she doesn't like someone or doesn't approve of something, it's pretty obvious. When Charles and Camilla's relationship became public, it created waves of controversy. Anne, like many others in the royal family, likely had opinions about how things unfolded. Charles was married to Diana, and the affair with Camilla wasn't exactly a secret. The scandal affected the entire royal family, putting them under intense media scrutiny. While Anne and Diana weren't necessarily close, Anne may have still disapproved of how Camilla entered the royal family. After all, Anne is a person who values tradition and duty above all else. She has always been one of the hardest-working royals, rarely seeking attention or drama. So, seeing Camilla at the center of one of the biggest royal scandals might not have sat well with her. Even today, their interactions remain somewhat formal. They stand together at public events, they share polite smiles, but they rarely seem to share warm, friendly moments like other members of the royal family. Unlike King Charles, who has worked hard to ensure Camilla is accepted by the public, Anne hasn't gone out of her way to show affection toward her. Tensions between Diana and Camilla. To understand the possible tension between Anne and Camilla, we have to look at the bigger picture, Camilla's history with Diana. Diana was one of the most beloved members of the royal family. She had a deep connection with the public, she was relatable, and she had a natural charm that made people adore her. When the truth about Charles and Camilla's affair came out, the public turned against Camilla. She was seen as the woman who ruined Diana's marriage and, by extension, the royal family's image. Even within the royal family, there were mixed feelings about Camilla. Queen Elizabeth reportedly took a long time to accept her, and Prince Philip also had reservations. Many members of the royal household knew how much pain Diana went through because of the situation, and that likely included Princess Anne. Anne has never spoken publicly about her personal feelings on the matter, but considering her strong sense of duty and tradition, it wouldn't be surprising if she was one of the royals who wasn't particularly welcoming toward Camilla in the early days. Over time, public opinion on Camilla softened, and she was eventually accepted as Charles's wife and later as queen consort. But personal relationships within the royal family don't always follow public narratives. Just because people have accepted Camilla now doesn't mean old tensions have disappeared behind closed doors. Disagreements between Charles and Anne in the past. Another key factor in this story is Anne's relationship with her brother Charles. Many assume that royal siblings are always close, but that's not necessarily true. Charles and Anne have very different personalities. Charles is more sensitive, thoughtful, and invested in modernizing the monarchy. Anne, on the other hand, is practical, duty-focused, and believes in keeping things as they have always been. These differences have led to disagreements over the years. For example, when Charles was advocating for a more modern and relaxed monarchy, Anne wasn't necessarily on board. She has always been one of the most dedicated royals, taking on hundreds of engagements every year without expecting praise. Meanwhile, Charles has been more vocal about wanting to change certain aspects of royal life, which may not have always aligned with Anne's views. Additionally, when Charles was preparing to marry Camilla, not everyone in the family was thrilled. While Queen Elizabeth eventually gave her approval, reports suggest that Anne was not among the biggest supporters of the union. Again, this wasn't necessarily about personal dislike. It could have been about how everything played out in the past. Anne has always been about duty and stability, and the scandal surrounding Charles and Camilla had already caused enough chaos for the royal family. Publicized moments of friction in the royal family. The royal family has had plenty of conflicts over the years. If there's tension between Anne and Camilla, it's just one of many power struggles that have played out behind palace doors. One of the biggest ongoing royal conflicts is between Prince William and Prince Harry. Once incredibly close, the two brothers are now barely on speaking terms. Their feud has played out in front of the world, with Harry stepping away from royal duties and publicly criticizing the institution. Another historical example is the tension between Prince Charles, now king, and his father, Prince Philip. Philip was a strong-willed, disciplined man, while Charles was more sensitive and introspective. Their different approaches to life led to clashes, particularly when Charles was younger. Even Queen Elizabeth and her sister, Princess Margaret, had moments of friction. Margaret, known for her rebellious nature, often felt restricted by royal rules, while Elizabeth had to put duty above everything else. Their different paths led to moments of disagreement, though they always remained close as sisters. So, when we see a moment of tension between Anne and Camilla, it's nothing new in royal history. These people may be royals, but they are still human. They have personal relationships, disagreements, and long-standing histories that affect how they interact with one another. Looking at everything, it's clear that Anne and Camilla have a complicated relationship. Whether it's because of their personal history, Anne's strong personality, or lingering feelings about the past, there's a noticeable formality between them. Unlike some of the other royals who have fully embraced Camilla's role, Anne remains somewhat distant. And perhaps that's just Anne being Anne, someone who isn't interested in putting on a show for the cameras. Whether or not their relationship will ever be truly warm is something only time will tell. But one thing is for sure, the royal family's power dynamics will always be fascinating to watch. What this means for the royal family's image. The latest viral footage of Princess Anne and Queen Camilla has sparked a huge debate online. People are now wondering, what does this moment really mean for the royal family? Is there tension behind closed doors? And most importantly, how does this affect Camilla's reputation as queen? Let's start with Camilla. This moment is not a good look for her. She has already struggled for years to win the public's approval, and now this video adds another layer to the ongoing conversation about her place in the royal family. When people see a queen being interrupted, dismissed, or talked over, especially by someone like Princess Anne, it creates an image that Camilla is not fully respected within the royal circle. Many people are asking, is she really in control? Or is she just holding a title without much authority? Think about it. Camilla was not born into the royal family. She had to fight her way in, and even after marrying King Charles, she was never seen as the natural choice for queen. Princess Diana's shadow still looms large, and for many, Camilla will always be the other woman who changed history. This moment between her and Anne is only adding fuel to that perception. People are saying, if even Princess Anne doesn't seem to take her seriously, then who does? Another big question is whether this moment makes Camilla look weak. In the footage, she doesn't push back. She doesn't argue or assert herself. Instead, she seems to either let it slide or simply accept Anne's response. To some, this might seem like grace, like she's choosing to remain calm. But to others, it looks like she doesn't have the confidence or authority to stand her ground. A queen is supposed to be commanding. When Queen Elizabeth II walked into a room, people noticed. She had an unshakable presence, a quiet but firm power that made it clear she was the one in charge. Does Camilla have that same energy? Many would say no, and this moment with Anne might just confirm that she is still struggling to be fully accepted as queen, not just by the public, but by the family itself. Now let's talk about Princess Anne. If there is one person in the royal family who doesn't care about public opinion, it's her. She has always been known for her sharp attitude, direct nature, and no-nonsense personality. And this moment, it only reinforces that reputation. For years, Anne has been one of the hardest-working royals, attending hundreds of engagements without drama or scandal. She never craved attention, never tried to be in the spotlight, and yet, people respect her deeply. Why? Because she speaks her mind and doesn't pretend for the cameras. If she disagrees with something, she doesn't fake a smile. She makes it known. That's exactly what people saw in this footage. Anne wasn't afraid to express herself, even in front of Queen Camilla. She didn't hold back. She acted as she always does, straight to the point, unbothered by royal formalities. This is why many people admire her. They see her as someone who values honesty over appearances. But this also raises another question. Does this moment suggest that there are real divisions within the royal family? Because let's be honest, if everyone in the family were on the same page, moments like this wouldn't happen. The royal family is supposed to present a united front, especially in public. Every move they make is carefully controlled to avoid drama. So, when something like this happens, it makes people wonder, what's really going on behind the scenes? We've seen signs of tension before. From Harry and Meghan's departure to reports of disagreements between Charles and his siblings, the royal family isn't as picture perfect as they'd like people to believe. And this moment between Anne and Camilla? It might just be another glimpse into the cracks behind the palace walls. Now the big question. How will the royal family respond to all of this? First, let's look at how the palace usually handles these kinds of situations. Most of the time they ignore them. They follow the old rule. Never complain, never explain. That's their way of avoiding adding more fuel to the fire. They know that public attention moves quickly, and in a few days, another story will take over. So, will Buckingham Palace issue a statement? Probably not. They might let this moment fade into the background, hoping people will forget about it. After all, they have dealt with far bigger controversies before. Compared to family scandals like Prince Andrew's legal issues or Harry and Meghan's interviews, a tense exchange between Anne and Camilla might not seem like a big deal to them. But here's the thing. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. If they don't address it, people will continue speculating. And with social media being as powerful as it is today, ignoring something doesn't always make it go away. There's also another possibility. The royal family might release a subtle response through carefully staged public appearances. Maybe we'll suddenly see Camilla and Anne smiling together at the next royal event, standing side by side as if nothing happened. It wouldn't be the first time they've tried to shift the narrative through well-planned public moments.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
You and your brother both directly asked your dad not to marry Camilla.
Yes.
Something strange has been found inside Queen Camilla's mansion. Something so shocking that even the FBI couldn't believe their own eyes. For years, everything seemed normal, but behind those fancy walls, a secret was hiding. A secret so big, it could change everything people thought they knew about the royal family. The moment investigators stepped inside, they knew something wasn't right. What they uncovered wasn't just unexpected. It was something no one was supposed to see. What could be hiding in the home of one of the most powerful women in the world? And why was it kept secret for so long? The presence of FBI agents at Queen Camilla's mansion is not something anyone expected. The Federal Bureau of Investigation deals with major crimes, including international fraud, political scandals, and hidden financial transactions. The fact that they were seen at Ray Mill House, Queen Camilla's private residence, raises many questions. One of the biggest mysteries here is why the FBI, an American agency, would be involved in an issue related to the British royal family. Normally, British authorities like MI5, Scotland Yard, or the Metropolitan Police would handle anything related to the monarchy. But this time, something was different. Something was serious enough to bring in US investigators. There are a few possible reasons why this happened, and each one is more shocking than the last. Could it be international crimes? One of the most common reasons for the FBI to investigate someone outside the United States is money laundering or financial crimes that affect American businesses or banks. The royal family has access to billions of dollars, and not all of it is accounted for publicly. Their wealth comes from taxpayer money, private estates, international business dealings, and secret investments. If something illegal was happening behind the scenes, like money being funneled through hidden accounts or offshore transactions, then the FBI would definitely get involved. There have been whispers in financial circles about large amounts of money moving mysteriously between royal accounts and offshore havens. Could Camilla's mansion have held key documents, bank records, or even secret safes that connect to a larger investigation? If this was the case, the FBI might have been looking for evidence of hidden financial activity, possibly linked to tax evasion, fraud, or even funding controversial international deals. But if it wasn't money, what else could be hidden in the mansion? A hidden royal secret? Camilla's Ray Mill house isn't like Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle. Those places are heavily guarded, monitored by British security services, and have strict protocols for who can enter. But Ray Mill house is privately owned by Camilla. That means fewer people watching, fewer restrictions, and more secrecy. If someone wanted to hide something, whether it was stolen artifacts, controversial documents, or even something more personal and damaging, this mansion would be the perfect place. One theory suggests that the FBI might have been looking for classified documents or hidden letters that could expose royal secrets. The British royal family has been in power for centuries, and over that time, there have been many cover-ups, scandals, and untold stories. Could Camilla have been keeping something hidden in her mansion that was never meant to be found? Maybe these were letters from past monarchs, discussing things the public was never supposed to know. Maybe it was evidence of a cover-up related to a major royal scandal. Or maybe, just maybe, it was something that could change the way we see the British monarchy forever. A whistleblower might have tipped off the FBI. The FBI doesn't just investigate random rumors from social media. They need solid evidence before they act. So how did they even get the idea that something suspicious was going on at Camilla's home? One of the most likely explanations is that someone from the inside leaked information. This could be a former royal staff member, a trusted advisor, or even a security official who had access to what was happening behind closed doors. There are a few possibilities. A former employee who saw something unusual and decided to report it. A royal insider. Maybe someone who had a personal reason to bring Camilla down. A legal informant. Someone who had been secretly gathering evidence for law enforcement. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. What if this whistleblower was from Camilla's own circle? Could it have been someone who lost trust in the monarchy? Could it have been someone who was once close to the Queen Consort but later turned against her? Some theories even suggest that Prince Harry could be involved. He has been vocal about his struggles with the royal family, and his book Spare exposed many secrets about Camilla, Charles, and the entire royal institution. Could Harry or someone in his team have come across damaging information and decided to take action? Or was it someone completely unexpected? A former royal security officer, a housekeeper, or even a financial advisor who realized they were involved in something too big to stay silent about? Could there be leaked documents? Another shocking possibility is that the FBI was investigating something that had already been leaked, possibly documents that surfaced online or were handed over to authorities by a journalist, a hacker, or even a political figure. We've seen this happen before. When Prince Andrew's ties to Jeffrey Epstein were exposed, it wasn't through direct police work at first. It was because documents, testimonies, and financial transactions were leaked. What if Camilla's name appeared in a classified file that connected her to something controversial? Maybe it wasn't her directly, but it could be someone connected to her. A friend? A family member? A business associate? If the leaked documents contained evidence of corruption, financial fraud, or international deals that broke the law, then the FBI had every reason to step in. Or was there a secret informant? Here's where things take a completely different turn. What if someone was working as an informant for a long time, gathering details, making notes, and waiting for the right moment to strike? Governments and intelligence agencies have used informants for decades to bring down powerful figures. Could this be a political move against the monarchy? Could someone be trying to weaken King Charles III's reign by targeting Camilla first? The royal family has always had power struggles, conflicts, and rivalries. Could this be a move from someone within the institution, a high-level politician, or even a foreign government trying to expose hidden royal dealings? And if there is an informant, who are they protecting? Themselves? The public? Or someone even more powerful? What led the FBI to the mansion? All these possibilities raise the same question. What was the final trigger that made the FBI take action? Was it a piece of leaked evidence that couldn't be ignored? Was it an anonymous tip-off that came from inside the palace? Was it a direct order from a high-ranking official in the US government? Or was it something even bigger than we realize? something that could take the entire royal institution down? One thing is clear, the FBI does not waste its time. If they showed up at Camilla's mansion, it means that something serious was happening, something that could shake the entire royal family. The real question is, how deep does this go? And who else is involved? The discovery inside Camilla's mansion. It was a cold, quiet evening when the FBI agents arrived at Queen Camilla's mansion. The grand estate, standing tall and proud, had always been a place of mystery. But on this night, something unusual was about to happen. The black SUVs pulled up in front of the mansion, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Armed agents stepped out, their faces serious. No one expected the FBI to raid a royal estate, yet here they were, ready to uncover something shocking. As the agents reached the massive front doors, there was a heavy silence. The air felt tense, as if the walls themselves were holding secrets. With a loud knock, they announced their presence. The butler, looking pale and confused, hesitated before opening the door. He had served in this mansion for years, but nothing like this had ever happened before. FBI, we have a warrant, one of the agents said firmly. The butler swallowed hard and stepped aside. As they walked in, the marble floors gleamed under the chandelier's golden light. The mansion was as grand as you'd expect, a home fit for royalty. But the agents weren't there to admire the beauty. They moved quickly, their eyes scanning every detail, looking for the hidden truth. What did they find? The search began in the main hall. The agents spread out, moving from room to room, opening drawers, checking bookshelves, even knocking on walls to see if there were any hidden compartments. At first, everything seemed normal. Just expensive paintings, rare antiques, and lavish furniture. But then, something strange happened. One agent, while inspecting a study room, noticed that one of the bookshelves looked odd. It wasn't placed right. As he reached out and pulled on a book, the entire shelf moved slightly. His heart raced. He signaled his team, and together, they pushed. With a deep, creaking sound, the bookshelf swung open, revealing a hidden doorway. What was behind this secret door? The agents stepped in cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The hidden room was small, cold, and filled with old wooden chests. Dust covered everything, but something about this place felt important, like it had been untouched for years, maybe even decades. As they opened the chests one by one, their eyes widened. Inside, they found stacks of old documents, letters, and photographs. Some of them had Princess Diana's name on them. Some had dates from decades ago, letters written in handwriting that looked urgent, desperate. Could these be secret letters Diana had written before her tragic accident? What did they say? The agents carefully took them out, their hands shaking slightly. But that wasn't all. As they searched further, they found jewelry that didn't belong to the current royal collection. Some pieces looked ancient. Others seemed too unique to be just another royal possession. Were these stolen? Were these gifts from powerful people? And if so, why were they hidden? Then came the most shocking discovery yet. In the far corner of the room, beneath an old dusty rug, one agent felt something hard under his foot. He pulled the rug away and found a metal handle. His heartbeat quickened. As he yanked it up, a trapdoor swung open, revealing a dark tunnel leading underground. The secret tunnels beneath the mansion. The agents quickly called for backup before stepping into the unknown. The air inside the tunnel was thick and damp, smelling of earth and something old, something lost in time. The passageway was narrow, just enough for a person to walk through. As they moved forward, their flashlights revealed strange markings on the walls, symbols that didn't make sense. Where did this tunnel lead? After walking for what felt like forever, they found another door. This one was locked, but that didn't stop them. With a strong push, it finally gave way, opening into a hidden underground chamber. And what they found inside was beyond belief. There were files, hundreds of them, stacked on wooden shelves. Some had the names of high-profile politicians, celebrities, and world leaders. Some were marked confidential and sealed tightly. But why were these files hidden beneath Queen Camilla's home? Even more disturbing was a wall filled with photographs. Black and white images of Princess Diana, Prince Charles, young William and Harry, and even members of other royal families from around the world. It was as if someone had been tracking them for years. And then came the biggest shock of all. In the corner of the chamber sat a locked metal box. The agents, now fully aware that they had uncovered something massive, forced it open. Inside, they found audio tapes, letters, and documents that seemed to hint at something sinister, something connected to Diana's tragic death. Could this be the missing piece of a decades-old puzzle? Was there more to Diana's passing than what the world was told? By now, the mansion was crawling with investigators. The items discovered were immediately seized, packed into evidence boxes, and transported away for examination. But the real question was, would the public ever know the full truth? Rumors started flying. Some officials wanted to keep everything secret, while others insisted that the findings should be made public. The palace remained silent, refusing to comment. But one thing was clear. This was not just a simple investigation. This had the potential to shake the very foundation of the British monarchy. Queen Camilla's reaction. As expected, Queen Camilla was furious. The moment she heard about the search, she rushed back to the mansion, demanding answers. Sources say she was seen speaking angrily on the phone, possibly to King Charles or other high-ranking officials. But here's the thing, she didn't seem surprised. It was almost as if she already knew what was in that hidden room. But if that's the case, why was she keeping it a secret? Camilla's public statement was brief. She dismissed the raid as a misunderstanding and claimed the items found had historical significance, but were nothing out of the ordinary. But we all know that's not how the world works. If it was nothing, why was it hidden? Why were there secret tunnels? Why were there documents related to Diana? And most importantly, what happens next? Because if this is just the beginning, then we might be on the edge of one of the biggest royal scandals in history. Could this change everything? Could this have something to do with Princess Diana? Now, this might sound crazy to some, but for years, people have believed that Diana's death wasn't just an accident. Some say she was silenced because she knew too much. Others believe she was planning to expose some dark secrets about the royals. So, here's where it gets interesting. The FBI, yes, the American agency, has never really been involved in the British royal family's affairs like this before. So why now? Why Camilla's mansion? And why did they reportedly seize documents from the property? Could it be possible that those documents contained information that Diana left behind? Maybe letters, secret tapes, or even a journal where she wrote about things she wasn't supposed to talk about. Let's not forget, before she died, Diana herself said that she feared for her life. She even wrote a letter in 1995 to her butler, Paul Burrell, saying, "My husband is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury." This was 2 years before she actually died in a car crash. So, was she warning us? Did she know something that we were never supposed to know? And if she did, could Queen Camilla have been hiding proof of that all these years? Was Camilla being blackmailed? Now let's think about something else. What if this wasn't about Diana exposing the royals, but rather, someone blackmailing Camilla? Camilla has never been a fan favorite. The world loved Princess Diana, and for years, Camilla was seen as the woman who ruined Diana's marriage. Even after Diana's death, people never fully accepted her. But what if Camilla has been keeping secrets to protect herself? Imagine if someone had information about Diana's death or some other hidden royal scandal. Something so damaging that it could ruin her and King Charles forever. Wouldn't she do anything to keep that quiet? And if that person tried to blackmail her, demanding money or power in exchange for their silence, wouldn't she need to hide whatever proof they had? Could that be what the FBI found? Maybe secret letters from a blackmailer. Maybe bank transactions showing hush money being paid. Maybe recordings of conversations she didn't want anyone to hear. And here's another thing. Why wasn't the British police involved in this? If something suspicious is going on inside a royal estate, Wouldn't it be the UK authorities handling it? Instead, we have the FBI stepping in. Could this mean that this whole thing is bigger than just the UK? Could this involve other countries, powerful leaders, or hidden deals that go beyond just the royal family? And if so, is that why this whole thing feels so secretive? Is this a threat to King Charles's reign? Now, let's talk about the king himself. King Charles has waited his entire life to be king, and now that he finally sits on the throne, this happens. Could this put his entire reign in danger? If the world suddenly found out that the royal family was hiding something huge, something that could make people lose trust in them, what would happen? The royal family already has problems. People aren't as loyal to them as they used to be. Many in the UK believe the monarchy is outdated, and there have even been talks of abolishing it altogether. If this scandal turns out to be something serious, it could be the final nail in the coffin. And let's not forget, Camilla and Charles have always had a complicated past. If this somehow traces back to Diana, it could make Charles look even worse in the public eye. Would people start demanding answers? Would they question his ability to be king? And could this lead to King Charles stepping down? There's already been whispers that Charles might not rule for long. Some believe he'll pass the throne to Prince William sooner than expected. Could this scandal be the reason why? Is there a cover-up happening right now? If this was just a small issue, wouldn't the royals or the government come out and clear the air? Wouldn't they explain why the FBI was at Camilla's mansion? But instead, silence. No one is talking. No official statement. No denials. Nothing. And we all know what that means. When people stay quiet, it's usually because there's something to hide. Could the media be under pressure to keep things quiet? Could the government be working behind the scenes to bury this whole thing before it spirals out of control? Think about it. This is one of the most powerful families in the world. If something truly damaging was found in Camilla's mansion, would we ever even hear about it? Or would it just disappear like so many other royal scandals before it? Because let's be real, the royal family has a history of making problems go away. From affairs to secret deals, to even Prince Andrew's connections to Jeffrey Epstein, every time something shocking comes out, it just seems to vanish from the headlines after a while. Could this be another case of a royal cover-up? Could we be witnessing something huge, but we just don't realize it yet? And most importantly, what else is being hidden? I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about everything we just talked about? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation going. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps support the channel. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on what's coming next.
And I have been so deeply moved and humbled by their truly remarkable courage and by their selfless capacity for forgiveness, despite all that they have suffered.
King Charles can finally share what happened is sure to make jaws drop. For decades, rumors and whispers surrounded the real story behind Charles and Diana's marriage, leaving fans with burning questions. Now, after years of regret and hidden truth, Charles is ready to spill the details that could change everything we thought we knew. From unexpected revelations to shocking confessions, nothing remains off limits in this tell-all.
And I also wanted to say how particularly moved and enormously comforted my children and I were, and indeed still are, by the public response to Diana's death.
Are you ready to hear the scandal that could rewrite entire royal history? Early spotlight on King Charles. From the moment he was born on November 14, 1948, King Charles lived in the public eye like few others. Being the first child of Queen Elizabeth II placed him in line for the British throne at just a few years old. As soon as his mother succeeded to the throne in 1952, Charles's every move became news. Journalists and photographers followed him constantly, capturing everything from his first steps to his school outings. This early attention brought both excitement and hardship. On one hand, Charles enjoyed privileges such as living in grand palaces and traveling around the world with his parents. On the other hand, the weight of future responsibility cast a long shadow. He could not simply play outside without a chaperone, or make casual friends without those friendships ending up in the papers. Knowing that he would eventually become king brought an expectation of perfect behavior and never-ending etiquette lessons. As a child, Charles took part in public events that most people never experience. He had to attend formal ceremonies, greet dignitaries, and smile for countless photographs. His parents were often busy with their own duties, so he sometimes felt distant from them. This early exposure to royal life taught him that leadership is more than just ribbon cutting and waving. It involves representing an entire nation and keeping up an image of respect and tradition. Yet Charles remained a curious young boy, eager to learn. He loved the outdoors, playing sports and exploring nature whenever possible. Despite all the ceremony around him, he tried to embrace any normal childhood moment he could find. This dual existence, being both a young heir and a child wanting freedom, shaped his perspective on duty and personal happiness. Over the years, the world watched him grow, picking apart every detail of his upbringing, from his choice of school to his friendships. While the spotlight was harsh, it also formed him into the resolute individual he would become. He learned to handle media pressure, stand by his values, and balance tradition with personal growth. Those early years in the public eye laid the groundwork for his eventual role as Britain's monarch. Challenging childhood. Although King Charles was born into privilege, his childhood was far from easy. In public, he seemed to have it all: a royal title, a future throne, and enrollment in prestigious schools. But behind the castle walls, he faced emotional hurdles that shaped who he is today. He often spoke of feeling somewhat isolated, since his parents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, had demanding schedules and many official duties. As a result, they were often away, leaving young Charles under the care of nannies and tutors. He once admitted that his parents could be both physically and emotionally distant. Growing up under such circumstances, he struggled to find genuine warmth and affection. Many times his reserved nature was misunderstood as aloofness, but it stemmed from a lack of open, playful interaction within his family. Like any sensitive child, he longed for approval and closeness. Additionally, constant media attention made it hard for him to form normal friendships. Classmates sometimes teased him, either because of his royal status or his gentle nature. While many assumed being a prince meant an easy life, it actually invited extra scrutiny. Every quirk or emotion he showed sparked feedback from both peers and the wider public. This pressure taught him to shield his feelings, shaping the more guarded side of his personality that people would later observe. However, these hardships also contributed to his ability to empathize with others, since he knew how it felt to be lonely and misunderstood. Charles developed a softer side. In time, he became known for his desire to protect the environment and uplift charitable causes. There is a belief that his early emotional battles gave him a strong sense of compassion for the struggles of everyday people. Overcoming a challenging childhood was no small feat. Charles had to navigate formal expectations, media glare, and his own yearning for unconditional love. These factors fueled both his insecurities and his determination to do well by his future subjects. In many ways, his youthful trials served as stepping stones toward a more empathetic approach to leadership, highlighting how even a prince can grow through adversity. Gordontown School experience. Gordontown School became a defining chapter of King Charles's youth. Founded by German educator Kurt Hahn, the school was known for its strict discipline, outdoor challenges, and emphasis on self-reliance. Prince Philip, Charles's father, believed that Gordontown would make his son tougher, more independent, and ready for the demands of royal life. Though the school was among the most respected in the United Kingdom, it was also notorious for its rigorous routines. For young Charles, the transition was tough. He was a sensitive boy, more inclined toward quiet reflection than braving cold mornings and adventure drills. At Gordontown, students were expected to wake up early to take cold showers, keep their dormitories spotless, and participate in various sports. The school highlighted character growth through hardship, a principle that clashed with Charles's gentle manner. He found the days exhausting and sometimes felt overwhelmed by the physical demands and the teasing he faced from classmates. Still, he would later admit that his time at Gordontown shaped his resilience and helped him discover inner strengths. He learned how to handle criticism, adapt to unfamiliar settings, and rely on himself in challenging situations. In a 1975 interview, he reflected that the school taught him much about his own abilities, hinting that the difficulties sparked personal growth. He also said that his father's insistence on sending him there, though harsh at times, forced him to confront the real world in ways a pampered prince rarely would. Beyond discipline, Gordontown offered Charles opportunities in leadership. The school believed in giving senior students responsibility to oversee younger ones, which helped Charles practice guiding and supporting peers. He also found moments to appreciate nature, exploring the rugged landscape surrounding the campus. That closeness with nature might have nurtured his lifelong advocacy for environmental causes. Despite the strictness, he later expressed gratitude for his Gordontown experience. While he often joked that his father's choice of school was a harsh move for someone so sensitive, he ultimately acknowledged its benefits. By enduring trials of physical endurance, structure, and teamwork, Charles discovered personal qualities that would serve him well as he prepared for the responsibilities of a future king. University education king. Charles's choice to attend university was a defining moment that broke royal tradition and sparked debate within the British royal family. Typically, heirs to the throne were expected to enter military service straight after their formal schooling. However, Charles had other plans. After completing his A-levels at Gordontown, he announced his intent to pursue a degree at the University of Cambridge. Many in the royal circle were uneasy about this decision, fearing it might reflect poorly on him as a future monarch. Critics claimed it showed a lack of discipline and a desire to dodge the rigors of military life. Yet Charles stood firm, determined to prove that scholarship and service could go hand in hand. Despite the stir it caused, his time at Cambridge became an invaluable experience. He studied anthropology, archaeology, and history, eventually earning a second-class lower Bachelor of Arts, an achievement that made him the first British heir apparent to receive a university degree. During his studies, the media kept a close watch on his every move. Reports of Charles strolling through campus with classmates or attending social events always made headlines, reflecting a public keenly curious about how he would balance academic pursuits with his royal obligations. For Charles, this period was about more than attending lectures and writing essays. It allowed him a taste of relative independence, a chance to mingle with fellow students and immerse himself in intellectual debate. He engaged in discussions ranging from historical events to global challenges, broadening his cultural awareness. This exposure seemed to strengthen his worldview and shape his future philanthropic interests. In particular, experiencing life beyond palace walls helped him understand ordinary people's struggles, an understanding that would later influence his passion for charitable causes. Still, not everyone was so accepting of his academic adventure. Some family members felt that time spent away from official duties hindered his readiness for the crown. Yet, Charles's resolve only grew stronger in the face of doubt. Even as tension brewed within the royal household, he persisted, focusing on exams and forming friendships that would last for years. Military career. After earning his university degree, King Charles turned his attention to the military, a path many had expected him to follow from the start. Criticism had built up when he initially postponed his service, with voices suggesting he feared the harsh environment. Yet Charles was determined to prove otherwise. Early in his second year at Cambridge, he requested Royal Air Force training, surprising both the public and members of his family. This move signaled his readiness to take on physically and mentally demanding challenges. Charles began his preparatory instruction by studying a range of technical subjects, including aerodynamics, navigation, and aviation medicine. According to Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Johns, who oversaw parts of Charles's training, the young man displayed remarkable concentration and a fierce determination to excel. While critics still questioned whether a sensitive prince could handle strict discipline, Charles's instructors saw a different side, a focused student who refused to fail. His military journey didn't end with the RAF. Charles soon embarked on a career in the Royal Navy, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather. He took an accelerated course at Britannia Royal Naval College, quickly adjusting to life on ships, destroyers, and frigates. Over time, he served as a gunnery officer on the HMS Minerva and took on responsibilities that tested both his leadership and technical skills. His active involvement in real operations, such as monitoring a Soviet submarine, showcased his calm under pressure and willingness to adapt to life at sea. One highlight of Charles's service was his development as a pilot. He spent countless hours in the cockpit, perfecting maneuvers and formation flying. His dedication paid off when he earned the Double Diamond Trophy, marking him as one of the top pilots in his class. Eventually, Charles advanced to commanding officer of the minesweeper HMS Brownington, where he led a small crew through routine exercises and real missions involving leftover World War II ordnance. By December 1976, he concluded his active military career with the rank of commander. Though some once doubted his ability to withstand rigorous training, he left with a record that spoke volumes about his commitment and skill. In many ways, his time in uniform demonstrated that a future monarch could balance tradition with personal ambition, all while earning the respect of both royal and military circles. It was one more stepping stone on a journey that would soon lead him to a deeply complex chapter of life. Meeting Princess Diana. Meeting Princess Diana. The story of King Charles meeting Princess Diana often leads to mention of a shooting party hosted by Diana's older sister, Sarah. But according to Charles himself, their very first meeting happened in a less glamorous setting, a freshly plowed field. In that moment, Diana was a shy 16-year-old, while Charles was in his late 20s, dating Sarah. Despite the age gap and the prince's existing relationship, Diana captured Charles's attention. He was charmed by her youthful spirit and unique warmth, but with his eyes fixed on Sarah at the time, he barely acted on those feelings. Not long after, Charles joined Sarah for a ski trip, and their blossoming relationship was widely documented by the media, who celebrated them as a potential match. Behind the scenes, though, something else was happening. During a gathering at Sarah's invitation, Charles and Diana ended up talking in private. She led him on a brief tour of her home's gallery, and he found her kindness and energy irresistible, even if he couldn't publicly show it. Meanwhile, Diana was flattered by the prince's genuine interest. Yet the situation was far from simple. Sarah was still very much in the picture. In a surprising twist, Sarah herself ended up ending the relationship with Charles. She gave a frank interview to a magazine, boldly stating she was not in love with him, nor had any intention of marrying into the royal family. The public was stunned, considering how they had seemed happy together during their ski outings. Within months, Sarah married someone else, causing the media to pivot and focus on the evolving connection between Charles and Diana. With Sarah now out of the equation, Charles felt freer to pursue the younger sister who had captivated him from that first encounter. Still, there were unavoidable concerns about their 12-year age difference and Diana's limited experience with the public eye. Undeterred, they began seeing more of each other. The royal family, always conscious of appearances, kept a close watch on their dates, intrigued by the possibility that Diana might be a suitable bride for the future king. Marriage to Diana. The marriage of King Charles and Princess Diana was hailed as the event of the century, a dazzling ceremony watched by hundreds of millions worldwide. From the outside, it looked like the ultimate fairy tale. Royal pomp, horse-drawn carriages, and a stunning bride adored by onlookers everywhere she went. Yet beneath the grand displays of love and pageantry, trouble brewed. Diana, who was only 20 when she wed the future king, soon found that royal life was far more complex than she had imagined. One early warning sign came during their engagement interview. When asked if they were in love, Diana confidently said yes, but Charles replied, "Whatever in love means." His awkward response drew public concern, and privately, Diana admitted that it hurt. Troubles mounted further during their engagement when she discovered Charles had purchased a gift for his ex-girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles. Though Diana considered calling off the wedding, she pressed on, buoyed by her sister's support, but harboring deep fears about Charles's loyalty. Their wedding day remained a spectacle of joy, at least to the millions watching on television. Behind the scenes, however, cracks formed in the marriage almost immediately. Diana struggled with the relentless scrutiny of the press and the expectations placed on her as a royal wife. Charles, meanwhile, did little to hide his lingering attachment to Camilla, fueling Diana's worries and later her heartbreak. Over time, the emotional strain took a visible toll. Diana spoke openly about her feelings of inadequacy, and Charles, unsure how to handle her distress, seemed to drift further away. Eventually, the rumors of Charles's ongoing affair became impossible to ignore. Diana confronted Camilla directly, pleading for her to leave Charles alone. When that failed, the tension boiled over, leaving Diana feeling more isolated than ever. The media, hungry for drama, devoured every hint of conflict. The final blow arrived when intimate phone conversations between Charles and Camilla leaked to the press, exposing the true extent of their relationship. Faced with a scandal that rocked the monarchy, Charles publicly admitted the affair. A deeply wounded Diana, in turn, shared her side in televised interviews, famously remarking that, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." In 1992, they formally separated, finalizing their divorce in 1996. What began as a fairy tale had become a cautionary story of love, betrayal, and public intrusion, forever shaping how the world viewed the House of Windsor and the couple at its center. Infidelity and marital troubles. The marriage of King Charles and Princess Diana was once the world's favorite fairy tale, but underlying tensions and hidden affections soon cast a shadow over their union. Early on, Diana sensed Charles's lingering fondness for his former flame, Camilla Parker Bowles. Although Diana hoped that marriage and motherhood would draw Charles closer, those dreams gradually faded as Camilla remained in the picture. Hurt and confused, Diana confronted Charles about the gift he had bought Camilla shortly before their wedding, an omen that her new life might not be a peaceful one. Taking on royal duties brought more public attention, leaving little room for private resolutions. Diana tried to hold her marriage together despite feeling increasingly overshadowed by Camilla's presence. Pleas and direct confrontations proved fruitless. Charles, meanwhile, seemed torn between his sense of duty to Diana and his emotional history with Camilla. Eventually, their marital strains spilled over into media reports, fueling endless tabloid gossip. Every time Diana appeared at a public event looking downcast or teary-eyed, the press speculated about Charles's behavior and the cracks in their relationship. The unsustainable tension came to a head when intimate phone conversations between Charles and Camilla leaked, confirming beyond doubt that the prince had continued his affair. The tapes featured candid exchanges, revealing the depth of their emotional bond. As these calls became front-page news, any hope of salvaging the royal marriage dimmed. In a bid to manage the crisis, Charles sat down for a televised interview where he finally admitted to cheating on Diana. This public confession shattered the prince's carefully managed image of respectability and left Diana feeling betrayed on a global stage. Although the divorce was still months away, the emotional damage was done. Diana's heartbreak and Charles's public mea culpa generated an unending storm of media scrutiny. Many who had idolized Charles for his dedication to royal duty now questioned his character. Some sympathized with Diana, seeing her as a young woman thrust into an unforgiving spotlight and betrayed by her husband's continued closeness to Camilla. Others blamed both sides, arguing that royal life created pressures no marriage could endure. By the time legal separation became official, the couple's relationship had devolved into a series of painful headlines and regretful revelations. What started as a storybook wedding in front of nearly 1 billion onlookers turned into a cautionary tale of unresolved past relationships, public obsession, and the heavy toll of infidelity on even the most glamorous unions. Diana's struggles and legacy. When Diana entered the royal family, many saw her as the embodiment of a real-life Cinderella. A shy young nursery school assistant swept up in a dazzling romance with the future king. Yet almost from the start, she struggled beneath the intense spotlight and the rigid protocols of royal life. Her natural warmth often clashed with the formal reserve expected of a princess, and every misstep drew tabloid headlines. Over time, these pressures took a serious emotional toll, leaving her feeling isolated and unsure of whom to trust. Beyond her marital woes, Diana battled personal insecurities. She spoke candidly about her struggle with bulimia, which she traced directly to the emotional pain and self-doubt she experienced in her relationship with Charles. Whenever she felt anxious about an upcoming event or a perceived rejection, the pressure became unbearable. Her willingness to open up about bulimia shattered royal norms, exposing a frank vulnerability that endeared her to millions who recognized their own battles in her story. Despite these struggles, Diana found her own voice and sense of purpose through humanitarian work. Early on, she displayed a gift for connecting with people from all walks of life. children facing critical illness, victims of poverty, and those living with HIV/AIDS all found a compassionate ally in Diana, who wasn't afraid to kneel down, embrace them, and show a human touch that broke centuries of royal formality. This empathy became a hallmark of her public persona, earning her the nickname, the People's Princess. Even as her marriage unraveled, Diana's global reputation soared, buoyed by her devotion to charitable causes. She visited hospitals, comforted the sick, and championed controversial topics like landmine clearance. Though her personal life remained fraught with heartbreak, Diana's work on behalf of the marginalized offered a sense of meaning. In telling the world about her own pain, she helped to break stigmas surrounding mental health while using her platform to shine a spotlight on overlooked communities. By the time she and Charles divorced, Diana's place in history had already been secured. Her tragic death in 1997 only cemented her status as a beloved icon whose struggles made her relatable and whose compassion inspired countless others. Today, her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, carry her legacy forward with their own charitable projects and public engagements. Through them and the countless lives she touched, Diana's spirit endures, reminding the world of the power in empathy, vulnerability, and the courage to speak one's truth.